Welcome back to the Port City Podcast, episode 67. Today we have with us Captain Tarnigal, and we will be discussing the events of the Operation Sovereign Shield series.
Cut that part out.
But we're here. We've got our very first guest on the podcast. We've got Wyatt here, the captain of the Tarnigal Federation.
Woo!
And we're just going to kind of take a little bit of time to talk about the events and what, how you came to be Captain Tarnigal. For those of you who are on Sundar, we are working on coordinating a time with James to get an interview with him as well. So stay tuned to the Port City Podcast for the Sundar episode coming soon.
Major Sundar.
I've got a couple of notes here, a couple of questions, but I think it's mostly just going to be more so yapping about...
Just casual conversations?
Yeah, just like talking about your experience playing Airsoft at the Sovereign Shield series, being a part of Port City Airsoft's events, that type of stuff. We are open to criticism. I'm going to put that out there right now.
I think something good to start off with would be when we say the events, what do we mean? Port City Airsoft has put on two milsim light. It feels weird calling it a milsim. An airsoft event. We've put on two of them last year.
Baby's first milsim.
Yeah. Called Operation Sovereign Shield. The second one was Operation Sovereign Shield Infernal Fury. Oh, sorry. A little hiccup there. These are events that we've just created as a way to bring more structured and organized airsoft to our local community. And part of that is having two opposing teams. And when you've got two opposing teams, you need people to lead those teams. And we have today the leader of the Tarnigal Federation, which is one of the factions similar to, I guess, like a NATO kind of thing. They're more so the standard military forces of this area, and then they are fighting against Sundar, who is kind of the more militia kind of faction present in the series. And trying to think if there's any other information that you need in order to. I think that might be it. I mean, we don't really have to go into the lore of the op right now. I mean, we can if we want to. Isaac, what do you...
I was just going to talk about... Okay, that was weird.
How did that monitor...
I have no idea. I was just going to talk about how he became Captain Tarnigal and then explain what that means.
Does that say... Oh, it says Lore of Tarnigal. I thought it said Lord of Tarnigal.
Yeah. Lord, but with the E like the music.
Yeah, I think that's
my
your
official title. Yeah, I'm Lord Tarnigal.
Lord of Tarnigal.
So tell us how you became Captain Tarnigal.
I think that
from your perspective, because I know how it was from
my
our side.
perspective.
Yeah. We can share.
I don't know, man. I just kind of showed up, and you were like, "Because can I be honest with you? I hadn't signed up when you asked me to be the Captain Tarnigal, so I was waiting." And I was like, I'll do it next week. Like I spent a bunch of money on something, and I was like, I'll do it next week. It was still, to be fair. Hold on. Wait. Before I get deposed here, let me just say that it was because the early bird special was still going on. This was like months before that. This was early.
It was very early.
It wasn't like it was like the day before the event, and I was like, oh no.
I'm waiting to see who signs up.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, guys,
only a couple people signed up. My friends don't know anyone who's going. No, it was early, and I forget what the issue was. I think there was like you guys were shopping around.
Yeah, people may not know this. Max was supposed to be Captain Tarnigal originally.
Yeah,
way back
for real.
Like when we were first dreaming this up, and he basically was just like, nah.
Yeah.
No, I think he was out of town or something.
I think at the time Max was a much more reasonable, because I think I was considerably less I had considerably less clout at the time than I did now.
Now that you're Captain Tarnigal.
Yeah, no,
and you
for
wear
sure.
the skin tight spandex Captain
he's
Tarnigal suit.
Yeah, of
John
course.
Wick of Tarnigal.
Yeah, no, I think at the time Max was definitely the move. I was honestly kind of surprised you guys asked me because I think, God, I'd only been coming to Hoppers for.
It wasn't that long.
At the time, like maybe 6 months, maybe 4 or 5 months. It wasn't long. I had just kind of gotten my kid a little bit situated. I was feeling pretty comfy. Started to get a little better, and then then when you guys asked me to do that, I was like, okay, cool. This is fun. Because I don't know. Airsoft was one of those things where I didn't know the community was so good here. So it was like I needed something for my brother to do to get him out of the house and not just like playing Fortnite all day long. Yeah. And then we came to the field and I was like, oh, this is all people my age.
Yeah, This is actually not a bunch of children.
No, exactly. It was like for him to socialize with kids his age, and then I came to the field and I was like, well, I guess this is for me to socialize actually. Yeah. And then it turned into all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it was really casual. I think we were discussing stuff. Oh, it might have been a lot of the regulars had left, and you guys were getting ready to leave. And I think you guys were like, "Hey, do you want to run things when we're like not here?" And I was like, "Yeah, whatever. Like I'll start running it." And then I did. And then I think you guys were like, "Oh, wait a minute."
Yeah.
And then you walked up and asked me like a couple minutes later because you guys were I think packing up to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, from my perspective, it was I don't even remember who said it. We're sitting there, we're talking to James. We're like, "Yeah, you're gonna be Sundar, but we don't know who to put on, or who to put on Tarnigal because Max said no. Basically, like he was unavailable. I think is what it was. He was like working or something. It might have been James. I can't remember who, but someone was like, "Why don't you just ask Wyatt?" And I was like, "Oh,
yeah."
We had been racking our brain. We were like, who in the whole world could be?"
Even before that, and that realization right there was even a moment of like, oh, dude, why haven't we thought of this
it
yet?
was a like, oh,
because you and I had conversations about like, I think we had seen you interacting with a lot of like the younger players out there and just being a very patient and like,
because there's plenty of people at the field who are good at airsoft. There's not as many people who are good at airsoft and able to sort of work with new players in a way of like
having a good
in a
mentality
leadership role, and that's not, we're not trying to talk bad about anyone, but it is just a thing of like there's a certain level of like, I don't know, awareness you have to coach people, right? To motivate and encourage people.
Children are already difficult at a certain age, right? And I would say around the time that youngins start getting into airsoft is around about the time that it's like, okay buddy, all right, man. Yeah. So I feel like a lot of the guys that we play with are very good at that leadership role when it is people like their peers.
Well, and
it is much more difficult to be in a position of leadership when you are around like a bunch of kids who are not taking it as seriously as you are and having to like make something happen with that. It takes a very specific
It's so
kind of
strange too, because even like, because I'm agreeing with you, but I do think that like there might have been kids out there who took it almost, if not more serious than I did. They just don't know what to do with themselves.
Yeah.
There's a serious issue, I think, when you're younger, and I know this is like, we're about to get into some nerd territory, but like when you're dealing with like battle IQ and understanding lanes to move in, how to crouch, when to run, when to stay put, when to move to cover.
I think I used the term game awareness. Yeah, and I realized that is, I think, the same
as battle
we
IQ.
are saying the same
absolutely,
because we've had these conversations before, and I do think it's the same. I just the term I use is different. Yeah, but that comes from a very like
gamer and less.
Yeah, I think mine's more military-esque, but it's exactly the same thing, just back and forth. But yeah, I mean, as you said, like game awareness, like understanding when to do certain things. Yeah, that kind of needs coached.
Reading the room,
right?
And it's so hard when I had the same issue that you guys did, because like a lot of the challenge of being a CO is finding like really, really consistent squad leads. And I think now we found a bit of a sweet spot that we're really working on. but there is just like such a good balance of, and I don't think anyone has done a necessarily like a bad job. It's just finding people who are really good at like you can have people who are really good at like motivating people, but they're not really good at like coaching younger people, and you watch the younger people get left behind.
Yeah,
and people who are really good at talking to younger people and getting them to do stuff, but they themselves are so focused on making sure that they're doing what they're doing. Like the team orient gets a little bit like
you have to be all things to all people.
Right.
Yeah, it's a surprisingly challenging role to take up.
Yeah. I think for me, what it was, right, was we saw James and Max being the ones that were sort of the face of the community.
Like on Saturdays.
On Saturdays, they are inviting new people. They are talking to new people. They're the ones saying, are you in the Facebook? Are you in the Discord?
Yeah.
You should come back. We're out here every weekend. Every weekend at this time, people show up late. They're the ones who go up and say, hey, man, so glad you're here. Just so you know, we always get here at 9. You know what I mean? Like that type of stuff. And they were running the games. They were saying, hey, guys, listen up. Here's the briefing. Let's all circle up. And they do a great job at keeping people in the flow, right?
Yeah.
Keeping people on track to be on the next game. They're talking to the ref. They're advocating. So, like, it was a natural pick for us to just be like, okay, well, these are the guys who are already sort of doing that. Let's work with them to provide, like, people know them, people trust them, that type of stuff. But I do think, like, it honestly worked out because I don't think Max wanted to do that. Anyways, and we've talked to him about it. He just enjoys playing. He doesn't want to have to run things.
It is a lot of work. Max does seem like the kind of guy who just wants to go out and like operate.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know.
He's
man,
just looking to
pretty
sling
cool
some
to do.
BBs and have a good time.
Yeah.
So I do think it worked out pretty well.
Yeah. I very distinctly remember you and I having a conversation after Airsoft one day, just being like, dude, Wyatt's like the best of us. Like, if every airsofter strove to be like Wyatt,
here's what it was.
Have a much different community.
It was the Steve Rogers.
Yeah,
right? We saw Captain America in Steve Rogers. We saw Captain Tarnigal in Wyatt.
Yeah,
and we were like, we gotta put him on the front line. Yeah,
that's so weird to hear because I don't think I think of it like that. I don't know how to describe it. It's so funny.
I don't think anyone thinks of themselves as Steve Rogers.
No, I also think
I don't think Steve Rogers thinks of himself as Captain America.
Yeah, I think if you think of yourself like that, you have some bigger issues underlying. I think than a normal person. No, but I definitely that's crazy to hear. I mean, I'm glad to hear it. It's very flattering.
Yeah.
And I humbly appreciate that. But I think that is crazy.
And the energy that you bring to the character and the lore, I think helps because. And this is a good segue into the lore.
Yeah.
Right? So the lore is built in a way that, like, it's our story, but we want the players to tell it.
Yeah.
Like, we are looking for
Yeah.
the community to influence the story. Like, Mark putting out all the DCS gameplay with the Tarnigal and Sundar jets and stuff. We used that in the marketing. Like, we went and screen capped that and used it.
Dude, that was so
with
cool.
his permission, of course.
Oh, yeah.
That stuff is so
Shout
awesome.
out to Mark. If you guys listen to the Port City podcast, head over to our main page, Port City Airsoft on YouTube, and there is a tab on our homepage there with our community. It is other content creators in our community who we support, one of which is Retnob DMR. Go check out his Airsoft gameplay along with some of his Ghost Recon gameplay and DCS gameplay.
If you want to see gameplay of like our local field, Mark is posting that stuff almost
He is the
weekly.
most consistent.
Yeah, he definitely is.
He's also so good.
He is.
There's so many times this weekend where I would be like hugging a fence and I'd poke my helmet up a little bit and I would hear just a little.
Yeah.
And I would be like, oh, man, I know that was Mark. He shot me from a million miles away.
Yep.
I'd get up and run it back, point into the wind. Good shot, and then run away.
I do feel bad sometimes.
If I ever get hit and I don't see anyone, the best part is I don't have to see him because I also snipe. So I know where I will look off in a direction that's like, this is probably where it's at, and he'll be like, yeah, I saw you. Like, give me a thumbs. Like, yeah. I know where you're at.
I never see him on the field, but there will be times where like I'll be somewhere, I'll be moving to cover, or I'll be like walking to the next thing, and I'll just get hit. or I'll be behind a piece of cover and I'll get hit and I'll be like,
all right,
did I wait?
Yeah.
Was that a hit or was it a ricochet? And I'll sit there for a second and I'll kind of stand up and look around and I'll get hit again. I'll go, okay, all right, I'm leaving.
On Nuketown especially, he gets me because I'll forget which lane he sits in. Yep. There's still those lanes that I now have figured out where from playing there so often where he's gonna be and what his sight pattern is gonna be, and I'll forget and he'll just bounce one right off my chest.
We get into some window wars sometimes. It's fun. I love playing with Mark.
Yeah,
he's got a good attitude.
He's a great dude.
He'll come up to me afterwards and be like, I saw you looking around for me after I hit you.
He's got a fantastic
like,
attitude.
I was trying to see where you were.
Again, back to if more airsofters had that attitude, we wouldn't have issues with the cheating and and not that it's a big deal. I feel like a lot of people think cheating in airsoft is a huge deal.
And
it's
when we
really
say
not.
cheating, it truly is you got hit, you got hit, and you are making the choice to not call yourself out.
Which is super rare.
Yeah.
Like
it is not as big a deal as people make it out to be. It's just so frustrating that when it happens, it's like
it is a big deal.
It's like, dude, come on, man.
I try to be so serious. We were doing a trench clearing this weekend, like on trenches.
Yeah.
And this guy with a shotgun, who was like a new guy, popped up and he shot at me, and all three of them hit my gun and bounced off. And I was like, oh, dude. And I looked at him and I was like, that was a gun hit. And he was like, it's okay, dog. It's just BB Wars. And then he went to shoot at me again and it blank fired. And I was like, oh, come on, man. And like that's one of those things where like
I want to give it to him.
I do.
Because he did shoot at me, but...
And he was so cool about it. He's like, yeah, I saw all three bounce off your receiver. And I was like, no. It was so funny.
You gotta have a good mindset.
You do.
You do. And I do feel like there's so many videos of people calling out cheaters and like...
Well, yeah, dude, Kissing Butt Stain and all those guys out there.
I don't know if I could say his name on the pod. Is that allowed?
We are a slander house for...
Okay, so this is a call out podcast. We're allowed to.
We do. This is a thing. Is Port City Airsoft doesn't make it a habit of calling out airsofters, unless it is someone who is directly responsible for the
pretty much
perception of
objectively
the
worst.
He is the only one that we're like you can talk bad about.
Because he's directly contributing to the perception of airsoft at large.
He is not just like an annoying airsofter. He's a bad person, dude.
Yeah.
Yes.
He has doxed children. Minors.
He also has so many people. Like I was at my friend's house, and her dad, who was like 50, was sitting there watching Kicking Mustang videos.
And it's so not at all accurate.
And it's not. And he was like talking, he's like, that guy that shoots people in the crotch. And I was like, oh, I know who you mean. I know exactly who. There's only one guy that does that.
All my homies hate Kicking Mustang.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah, he is.
And he can come for me.
Like I was fine.
Yeah, I mean he shouldn't, but.
He's gonna cross the pond and get you, dude.
There he is.
You gotta keep your doors locked at night, dude.
He's gonna try to stab me with a knife.
Yeah. I was who was I telling? Who was it? Yeah, I think it was you. I was telling. Yeah, I tried to be neutral about it because I didn't want to get in on a hate train.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of bullying. But this guy has doxed minors. He has like tried to ruin people's lives. He has threatened people. It is a thing of. I'm not answering that. It is a thing of he is objectively a bad person, and that in combination with being like a bad representation of airsoft is enough for me to be like, you know what? So, I don't have to like everyone.
That guy sucks.
It's okay for me to think someone's a bad person.
Good thing British people aren't real.
Dude, hey, you can be British, just don't do it in front of me.
Yeah,
exactly.
The government's
Keep
lying
that
about.
to yourself.
I don't care what you do in your own home. I just don't put it in front of my family.
Hold on, there's a joke here. Britain was created by Big Fancy to sell more Fabergé eggs.
To sell more uppity.
I thought Fabergé eggs were Russian.
Actually,
no.
I don't know. No, I don't know if you guys do know that Britain was actually created by dentists.
Oh yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's
to
like
make more money.
It's never-ending clientele. You know, you'd think they'd go to the dentist more if that was the case, but
we gotta actually be careful because we do have people. We actually do have people from across the pond who listen.
Yeah,
so.
But they also are talking trash about it.
Get in on the meme
on
we
British Twitter, making fun of us.
Yeah,
this Port City blokes are so mean.
Blokes.
We're so off track.
Giving everything that I can.
Derailed.
Okay, this is turning into a comedy podcast. What's our next question?
What's the next question? All right, no, so actually the lore, right? Let's talk about the lore.
Yeah.
So Captain Tarnigal, what is he the captain of? The Tarnigal Federation.
What is the Tarnigal Federation?
The Tarnigal Federation is a federation of countries that have formed in order to preserve peace and unity, right? So, and people get in like, oh, it's the Empire. It says no. It is genuinely a group of nations that are seeking peace. They, like, in our world that we have written out the lore, like, they have achieved. The Federation was the end of a war. So, like, in the lore, it was like these nations had been at war with each other for so long. Think about, like, Japan, how all the different factions were constantly vying for power. And then in, like, modern Japan, that all got shut down with the abolishing of the samurai and all that stuff.
Isaac's samurai lore is deep.
Yeah,
so,
we had a conversation about it before, actually.
So think about it that way. It is not that they took over or whatever. It is just that they have unified all these leaders into working together. One of the nations that did not join, that refused to join, was the Republic of Sundar, because they believe in their sovereignty and their ability to operate outside of the bounds of the Federation.
There is also Sundar borders a ocean.
Yes, on one side.
And has possession of the largest port on their coastline.
Yes. So the Federation sort of had to play by the Republic's rules in order to not have tariffs on all of their imports.
Where did you guys get the names of Sundar and Tarnigal from?
So we wrote the story. With filler. I don't even remember the old names. We had like placeholder names.
Did we?
Yeah, we had placeholder names.
I don't even remember what those were.
Untitled Country 1 and 2.
I mean, it was
Something
genuinely
like that.
something stupid like that. And then we went in and looked up like a name generator or something.
Yeah.
I think we did ask ChatGPT, generate a list of 20 country names.
Yeah, it was that. Yeah.
I think I saw recently that like the Sundarian Empire or something was a real thing.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I do think I forget where it was, but there was some place called Sundar. I don't know what.
I want to look that up.
It might be
I've
like
never,
a word or something, but
this was fake. This was all intended to be removed from reality.
Yeah, of course.
And these are not representative of any real nations or groups. Like, this is solely a fictional thing. But so that's the lore. And then basically what happens is there's some criminal activity happening inside of Sundar, right near the ports, being committed by citizens of
if I'm not
other
mistaken,
nations.
If I'm not mistaken, in Sundar there is a mountain range to the north that borders.
This is like super nerd stuff.
That borders.
Like, we could write a comic book.
Like, we have maps, dude. We have maps and
You
everything.
guys are like legitimately doing world building.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's what we did before we ever did the event. We built out the world.
This mountain range borders another nation in the Tarnigal Federation called Dracovar.
Yes,
Dracovar is sending agents over, whether they are working for the government or not.
It is Dracovar mob.
So what
it is the Dracovarian criminals.
Is smuggling things through this mountain range into Sundar.
So they are using
Sundar's
Sundar's port to smuggle contraband up into Dracovar.
Sundar has launched, has conducted operations to try to stop that. So Sundar sent forces into that mountain range to cut off, these smugglers and whatnot, and try to do something about it.
If you watch the lore videos that we post,
Yeah.
but for every event, you can kind of track with this, but it is a bit complicated.
So is Sundar called Iskandar, or is Iskandar the area that is Pinecrest that they're fighting
Iskandar
in?
is
Pinecrest.
Oh, okay.
Pinecrest is in Iskandar.
Yeah. Got it.
So Dracovar is to the north of
The only reason we haven't
Iskandar.
released the maps is because they're like janky
not
maps that
very
we
good.
made.
Yeah,
we
wanna
want
get, like,
someone to
good
come in and
maps made.
illustrate real maps.
That would be
so if
really
you know
cool.
someone
Yeah.
who can do that, let us know.
Let me call up my cartographer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your silent cartographer.
Yeah.
Halo reference.
But so Dracovar criminals conducting illegal activity in Sundar. Sundar tries to put a stop to it because they are conducting military operations across the border. That is seen as a breach of the treaties between the Federation and Sundar, and now
what's really happening? Dracovar's officials are not doing any favors in this by taking any sort of responsibility. They're neglecting to acknowledge the fact that they have organized crime.
Dracovar is a member nation of the Tarnigal Federation,
and
so because Dracovar is covered by the Federation is responsible for
Yeah.
for their action.
It's a very tense geopolitical situation.
It is. No, it really is. We've designed it in a way to where there's no bad guys, right? There's no good or bad guys in the sense of
every time I hear someone go, "Oh, Sundar, you guys are the bad guys," and then Sundar go, "No, it's you guys."
That's what we wanted. That's what we wanted because
Yeah.
we wanted it to be like you have a reason to fight for your team. So technically, right? If we're really gonna back up, and you've got to interpret all this for yourself. That's part of picking a team, but the Tarnigal Federation did not stop these illegal operations from happening. They just simply disowned the organizations.
Of course.
These criminal syndicates, they said, we're not affiliated. We don't support them.
And it's basically just saying you can't launch operations
you can't
across the borders.
You can't hold it against us because they are just criminals.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where they're from, they're criminals. And Sundar goes, well, they are criminals in your territory coming into our territory to do illegal stuff.
Yeah.
So if you don't get control of your criminals, we'll do it for you. And that's basically what happened. Was it was this sort of like big political escalation. I don't know what I'm choking on, dude. I just started.
You need some water, dude? I'll go get you some water.
I probably do.
I got you.
But basically what happened was Sundar and Sundar and Tarnigal had a disagreement of who's responsible, and that led to Sundar hosting these operations along the border to stop these criminals. That is seen as a breach of the treaty, right? The peace treaty between the nations. So then Tarnigal Federation says, if you're going to have troops on the border, we're going to have troops on the border.
Yeah.
And they deploy a bunch of troops over to Pinecrest, which is in Iskandar to the west of Sundar.
Yeah.
In Sundar, the northern part of the region is mountain ranges. The southern part of the region is like luscious fields, great for farming, like high and rich in resources. And then on the east coast is the port, and then on the west coast is Iskandar. The Sundar, the reason why such a small country can thrive so well and have such industry is because they are so rich with resources that they sell to all these other member nations around them, like Iskandar, like Dracovar. And so they're afraid that the Tarnigal Federation will use this as a political justification for an invasion to seize control of these resources. So that's why with the first event, the Republic of Sundar launched an invasion into Pinecrest. So technically, the Sundar threw the first stone, but they say it is in response to the threat of invasion, and they, instead of risking the opportunity for the Federation to invade, they're going to shut it down before it happens. And so that's where we were with the first one. I would say before we go further into the lore,
Let's talk about the first.
let's talk about the first event, right?
Okay.
So that's where we started. The first game was Sundar invading from that wood line. It was supposed to be like an ambush.
Yeah.
Tell us about the first event. You can get into the lore, you can get into the gameplay, whatever. We've got stuff about team comp and like player morale and the actual physical gameplay of the first event because there were some issues. We know that, like based off of the surveys. But I will say, we still had an average score across all categories of like 8.5 out of 10.
The
for our
first game
first event. So yeah, tell us about it.
It was kind of peak. It was sick. Now, the second game was awesome, but the first game was really cool. And the reason why is because I think team comp wise, it was a little more balanced first game, so we had a lot more to work with. I think we had like a whole fire team that I kind of lost in the second one, which like I didn't realize how much of a detriment that was going to be. So we had like Sundar undoubtedly is filled with incredibly competent airsofters.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, good comms
Milsim
techniques,
veterans.
milsim veterans, TCA tier 1 types, like very, very, very good guys play on that team. Like the skill collectively is really, really, really high.
Yeah.
We had a lot more. We have some players who are very, very good, and we have some players that are sort of newer, just starting out, getting the balance of things. And we had everything from like brand new to seasoned veteran kind of vibes.
Sure.
So it was a lot more to manage as far as that goes. I think the first one was really great. I loved the The ambushed one, that was really cool. Honestly, all the modes in the first one, there was like minor technical issues because like the only gripe that I actually had was that that one in the sort of the rush game mode, that one flag was a little closer to Sundar than I think had been expected, or maybe they just took that preemptively. And it worked really well in their favor. And by the time we got back to respawn, they had already like just taken over the entire third objective.
Yeah.
So they ended the game super fast. That was the only complaint I had the whole day. Everything else was awesome. It was really hot. It was really, really hot.
Can I tell you, the Sovereign Shield 3 is probably going to be hot, too.
Also probably
going to be hot.
I'll be camelbacking for that one for sure.
Yeah, I would encourage everyone to be drinking tons of water.
Yeah. And we're throwing around some ideas. Milsim West makes you drink a whole bottle of water before you
like you get your
respawn.
2 hits with your tourniquet, and then once you're full dead, the way that you get revived is a medic comes, gives you a bottle of water, and they watch you drink the whole thing.
We are thinking about. The only problem is with the mask situation.
Yeah.
At Hoppers, you have to wear a lower.
Yeah.
So we're just playing around with the idea of how we could make that work because we do want to force people to drink water. There were a few people, I think even you by the end of the day were pretty wiped. There was some people saying they were suffering from heat stroke, and we don't want that, right? We have free water on site. The Gatorade coolers are full of water. If you don't want tap water, you can buy water bottles. I think we have them for like $1 or something.
My biggest problem with the first event was that I was just too big. I put on too much muscle that year, and then trying to hydrate all of that mass and run in that heat was just not working.
I'll say I am probably close to the same weight I was when I was working out all the time now. I thought maybe I gained it all back in fat, but I don't know. After this last op at Iron Fury, I really do think I think I got a little taller and a little wider than I was like 2 years ago. So technically, you still grow till you're what, 25?
Yeah. You keep growing.
So I do think I got a little bit wider because I was fine. I mean, we did all that. It wasn't nearly. I put myself through more strenuous circumstances leading up to that op than actually at the op.
That's how it's supposed to be, though.
Yeah, like those few Saturdays we went out, I gassed myself out
talking about
every time
for Iron Fury.
Yeah, for
I'm just
Iron
talking
Fury.
about talking about him like
No,
putting on
I
so
get
much
you.
muscle.
Yeah. I was just for
I
context.
weigh the same amount that I did when I was bodybuilding, but I feel lighter and I move faster. I do think I have actually grown, not put on more muscle mass. Like I was 165 pounds when I started working out and got up to 200.
Yeah.
But now I'm at 200 and I don't bodybuild. So I do think I just like over the last couple of years have grown a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I started that off of a bulk. I had just finished bulking, so I was probably the biggest I've ever been during OSS 1.
Yeah.
So lugging that around, and I was like a little bit less on cardio than I was supposed to be.
I feel like the kit you were wearing for the first Operation Sovereign Shield was heavier than the second.
So restrictive. I think I wore the same kit. I just think, well, no, I did trim some fat off of it, definitely.
Yeah.
I had
And
a
the
lot.
tech shirt.
The tech shirt helped a ton.
Famous in the
there was-
Tarnigal chat.
I know. Well, it's funny. I wore a tech shirt the first one too. It was just green. So it was just it was harder to tell. The blue tech shirt really stood out. It's
you
actually,
gotta bring that back.
Oh,
for
I'm
sure.
going to. I'm just gonna pull up in that.
You
But
gotta- we ought to print on there a big like.
I can sew a patch to it.
Dude,
Just
what we ought to do is see if we can get somebody to print us multicam with blue in it.
that would be crazy.
So one of the guys bought multicam and dyed it red and ran red multicam
I saw that.
out on Sundar, which was sick, dude.
It looked really cool.
I honestly, I would not be against us ordering some like Temu or AliExpress BDUs and dyeing them blue and red and being like selling a handful of those at the event for cheap, whatever, whatever we need to do to cover our costs, but just have them available. Because I think team morale would go up if people were like, oh, dude, blue multicam. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just an idea.
I completely agree. No, I'm trying to think. I feel like we've trailed off so far.
That's usually how it goes.
To get to I do think I don't know. The first event was really really good. There was very few issues. The second event,
we made changes.
Definitely.
For the second event, we did the ammo crates, the coins. We got rid of the coins. They were too hard to find.
The coins were really hard to find.
Yeah, they were way harder to find than we thought they would be. It's surprising how much you won't see one of these crates in the middle of an airsoft game.
It was always the younger people that found them, dude. It was always like there's a couple different people that just kept collecting them and bringing them back to space.
You guys only lost by, I think, what was it, 2 or 3 objectives? So like that's like a 1 or 2 objectives and a couple crates. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it did not feel that way.
It did not. No.
It did not feel that way.
But I think
all.
it's because you guys are having to.
Though I guess
we went to Iron Fury and you saw what we did all day.
Yes.
So those guys are just used to that. That's default mode. So I think what was happening is
like what they did at Iron Fury was probably much more intense as what they did at Sovereign Shield.
Yeah. So probably what it is that they're just used to having to be on top of it, like be on the objective.
So I think especially on the first one, moving in that heat and being able to stay up.
But
all day
now that you and Shay have been to Iron Fury and we're gonna go to some more events, I think running Sovereign Shield is only going to get better.
Oh, 1,000%.
Because our crew is going to get used to it.
Yeah.
But we made changes. We simplified some of the game modes. We really tried to. Okay, I say simplified. We really tried to simplify the interactions, but keep the complexity.
Yeah.
So, like, in the first one, there was a lot of, like, do this thing, and then do this thing, and then you can move this. And it was like, wait, hold on, what do I do? How do I do this? The bomb defusal stuff was so confusing. Like, because people just... What we realized is airsofters just, like, refuse to pay attention in the briefing, and you need something that's dummy-proof. But we don't want it to just be, like, so overly simple that it's not fun. So like that's the balance we're trying to strike is like with the crates. Yeah, we can tell a dude to carry this crate and if he breaks it they lose. You know what I mean? That's easy.
Yeah.
To say, hey, 2 people carry this, they bring it in, we do the glow stick collection thing that we did, like the chem lights and stuff. Like that's an involved complicated like objective that's not just team deathmatch, that's not just capture the flag, but then it's also like an admin verifies that you are interacting with an admin who is verifying that you were doing the objective correctly.
So do you think that you'll simplify things a little more or move
No, I think we've dialed it back enough that we can now reintroduce more complicated aspects. Like Corbin was talking a lot about like building bomb props that are simple. Like TCA will do simple toggle switches of like you switch it from green to tan, you know?
Yeah.
Or it's like there's a flag that you raise to this color.
What was the box, the objective box that they had on that beach?
It was an iPad. So it was an iPad on an app, and you type in. So each team had codes. Yeah. So there was a code that was a 4-letter code that you typed in that we got in the mission brief.
Yep.
I think we found it in the Discord, but it was all in there, and then I think I sent Woodley to go do it, and he ran over, just went doop 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 doop.
But that's it. Like that's the type of stuff where it's like you have one thing to do, but the fact that you're typing something is cool. You know what I mean? Like it's simple, but it's representative of something more complicated. Think about like ground branch, doing the intel retrieval in ground branch.
Yeah.
You just hold the F key, but you have to hold it for like 10 seconds. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is, 5 seconds. So like we can build props like that.
That's
right?
the thing that Helldivers does incredibly well.
Oh, with the stratagems?
Yeah, doing that versus just holding F. And
fun.
It's so much better.
We could put a DDR pad out for people to...
No, I mean, legitimately, if it's an iPad app that they're using, you know, we could easily have a
you and I could build off of a Raspberry Pi a little up, down, left, right, like Simon Says.
Do the canonical.
Like it'll flash, boop, 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 and then you have to just, dun, 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 you know, and then you're in.
Yeah,
you know?
Dude, we could just put a Simon Says in a box, dude. And just, hey, get to round 5, and you know,
trying to do Simon Says while getting shot at would be crazy.
Honestly, or a bop it, dude.
Yeah, bop it would be nuts.
Bop it.
Yeah.
But we tried to make those changes. I feel like the second one played better than the first one, but I think we had less people because of the time of year that we hosted it. School was still happening. A lot of the younger people couldn't make it out. And one of our limitations where we're at is we can't play on Saturdays. You know, that's what we're working on. We're trying to figure out how to get around that problem. So, I mean, moving forward with these, what do you see? What would you like to see more of at Sovereign Shield? You know, for the next one.
Hot take: longer game modes.
Very hot take.
Interesting.
It's extremely hot.
It's the
take.
hottest take, actually. 'Cause
Yeah.
I guarantee
Yeah.
no one says that. but
Everyone else was like,
sure
"Don't
are.
make me play long."
I think that running with the
3
soft
hour
guys
windows?
at the TCA event made me
It
realize
makes
how
more
much
sense.
I love just dialing in.
Yes.
Like being in the zone for 12 hours on
Yeah,
Saturday.
dude.
Like it was, when we were at the beach that night, we were playing airsoft for like the 15th hour.
Yeah.
And I still was like, I mean,
Let's
granted,
go.
I was a little bit falling asleep at the
Yeah.
tree because we
Yeah.
were running all day. But at the end, like as soon as we took contact, I was like, we're back in it, baby.
Yeah, let's go, baby.
As soon as all those
loved
tracers flying, I was like, we're in it again.
Hey,
We
Like,
could have
hey,
we could have
that
not gotten
tracer
off the
unit-
field.
yeah.
If we had not had that tracer unit on our squad,
Mm-hmm.
it would have been a totally different thing.
I think it would have.
But I do think genuinely, like, the idea.
we all have to get them for the next one.
I got-
Oh,
I'm
1,000%. I'm
definitely
gonna order one.
110%.
I mean, I'm building my car 15 by the next stop. So
I'm gonna probably buy that one from Ethan. He's
looking into that.
telling
The
me he might
car
want to
15.
sell it.
Yeah, it's slowly. It's like it's like
creeping
a
up on
siren
you.
song that
Sneaking up
sings.
on
When
you.
I
It
open my
will.
computer.
Why don't you
yeah.
pick that one up real quick?
I was just playing with it. Well, here's the thing. So while is this a Gen 3?
Yeah, that's
the
fine.
Gen 3,
This
yeah.
is pretty heavy.
It has got some weight
It's
to
pretty
it.
chunky for the. Is this upgraded at all?
We can't say the G word on YouTube, just so you know. Once we get to Patreon, we can.
Yeah, I know. I've heard you guys use the B word
Blasters,
consistently.
yeah.
Yeah.
The B word consistently.
Yeah.
It's I think it has. Doesn't it have a type bore in it? Does it?
Yeah, it does.
Stock.
Oh yeah.
Is it Type 4 stock?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got so out of the box, it comes with a 6.03 Type bore inner barrel, Zion arms, programmable ETU, whatever MOSFET, and then it's got the high speed or high torque motor. I don't remember what it is, and then it's got the quick change spring system, and it comes with a high power and low power FPS spring.
So here's a question.
All I did was swap out the handguard and put the carry handle.
So
on.
on mine,
Yeah.
You guys can't see what we're
because
talking about.
I'm
on
also
YouTube,
going to
but
get a Gen 3 and do this setup.
Yeah.
We are speaking
But
of
I'm
the.
trying to figure out a way to permanently install that.
Literally, all I was thinking is like, can we weld them off?
Yeah,
because
yeah,
like Cameron could do
100%.
it easily. He told me he was
100%. You
going
could
to weld his
also probably
MG42.
find a car 15 upper or 3D print one.
So
but it wouldn't be metal.
there is only
That
there's
is
only
polymer.
one.
Yeah.
There's only one that I found.
and it's the SEMA.
SEMA
And
makes
it's
one,
not-
but it's
doesn't
not.
fit.
If it's the same as whatever this upper that's on this M16
Now
is,
you
then it
did
does
try
not
to
fit.
put it on my Valken. You did not try to put it on that.
That's true. I could try it. I wonder if that SEMA is that SEMA upper is different than what's on this M16.
Sure.
So who knows?
I don't know. The Car 15 does work.
I don't care about the nubs.
Yeah.
They don't get in the way, and I know they look a little ugly, but from the outside you can't tell because I'm holding it on the inside.
I
right?
just-
Yeah.
Those knobs.
Yeah.
So,
It just feels so faux pas-esque to have the knobs on. But I do agree with what you're saying. Functionally, it doesn't matter at all.
well, and for $165, that's what
Yeah.
that was. And then whatever for the handguard.
So
and stuff.
is that an XM177?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you feel as if though that is like do you feel as if there's a big enough difference to actually go with the authentic replica versus the Gen 3, or do you think the Gen 3
I feel
is
like
So
I feel like the SEMA
my
range wise is comparable.
talking about the one that I was looking at.
This one, this M16, is
Okay.
comparable. I think that the Gen 3 shoots faster,
The Gen
muzzle
3
velocity,
shoots faster
and
and
snappier.
speed of the
Yeah,
rounds
it's-
per minute.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is there an integrated MOSFET in the Gen 3?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's programmable. I've got
Oh,
my full auto
dude.
flip. Oh, there's no battery in it.
Bro,
Full auto is set to
what?
3-round burst right now, and it is not a dun dun dun. It's like a. It's like a.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's fast.
Is that field? Oh no, I guess we.
No, I never ran it,
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
have it.
I'm gonna say-
So I would say the SEMA that I was looking at is like $220.
Yeah.
And runs a nickel metal. It's like a 9.7 nickel metal hydride is what it's rated for. It has SEMA's Gen 2 gearbox. It's not upgraded with a tight board. It doesn't have the MOSFET in it. That is $185, the Gen 3, and it's got all of that stuff. So my thought is,
I got mine for $165.
What is the catch there?
With what?
What with the Gen 3?
Why is that so incredibly affordable?
It's polymer.
Oh, is that all that it is?
Yeah,
It's
Polymer and Lancer and Zion Arms, I think, are owned by the same company.
Yeah.
So they already have access to a ETU that they use.
Yeah.
So they don't have to buy it from someone else.
Yeah. But I think, pardon, the SEMA that I was looking at, it's more expensive and it doesn't have the upgrades. That is $185. My thought was, I could buy that SEMA and I could just run it and whatnot.
You know what we should do?
It's going to cost me upwards of, like, at the end of everything, once I buy the blaster, buy all the attachments, and then do the upgrades to the blaster, I'm going to be out round about $500.
What we should do is we should talk about this in the ready room.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Sorry, not
True,
to kill the party, but we are towards the end here. We're running out of time, and I didn't want to ask.
And this is all just good stuff. Yeah.
You and this is good stuff to share on Patreon.
Yeah.
You had said longer gameplay, right?
Yeah.
Because you enjoyed locking in. What do you think? 3-hour mission windows?
I think that would be brilliant to go out there for 3 hours, have the fob in the field. So we're
Have
The
an
problem
area
is
where you
having
can
enough
just go and
admin and having enough
resupply and stuff.
objectives that keep you in the fight that whole time.
Yeah,
It is a complete rework of what we've been doing.
It is so challenging, but I do think that if you want to be the bridge between weekend play and milsim stuff, I do think that just doing weekend play type, like small type objectives, not a lot going on,
for 3
and there being
hours.
like mission windows. So
The
like,
problem is no one out there comes prepared for a 3-hour game. Everyone shoots through all their
nobody.
ammo.
no, well, yes, but also like, I
But
don't
we
know.
just have to change that.
So
like
maybe-
it has to be they shoot through all their
It's-
ammo and realize, I got to bring more ammo.
Well, it's also us putting out stuff that says,
Info
"Hey guys,
and
these are
pack
going to be
more ammo."
long
Yeah.
mission windows.
Yeah.
Make sure that when you step foot onto the field, that you have enough with you to last for 3 hours."
I liked getting our LBVs and literally just packing through like a 15-hour situation.
yeah,
That's
that was so
awesome.
fun.
It was
to
great.
have water, to have food. Like I'm pulling snacks out of Shay's butt pack at the field while we're laying there taking fire. Like that kind
Yeah.
of thing. Pulling out your Odin while we're getting shot at.
Yeah.
That really is. It's like that
It feels good.
so different.
Laying behind that tree
Yeah.
and being like,
Yeah.
Wyatt,
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
can you hand me my Odin?
No, it makes it so much more not only authentic because
Not
like,
only that, but us being there and then
Yeah.
getting shot at and you being like, oh, and like falling back on top of me and us
Yeah.
like laying next to each other, returning fire.
that whole night.
We were both trying to hide behind one tree,
Yeah.
and my butt pouch was open, and he had an Odin in his hand, and we're just like, oh.
No, I literally rested my head on his butt cheek, and I was like, and I hear the BBs going whizzing by my face.
Did you hear? I immediately started returning
You
fire.
immediately just you can see the tracers just flying through the trees, and I like got up and I was like, all right, I'm gonna crawl back to my gun, and then I left the Odin on his butt, and then turned around and belly crawled back to my tree and grabbed my
Dude.
gun and sat
And
there.
that's the type of stuff that people don't understand about airsoft. That's fun. It's like you just get to do that,
Yes.
and that is exhilarating. That is funny. That is
Yeah,
exciting.
It's so fun. Also,
yeah,
it's
just a good time.
It feels like you know when you watch like a war movie and you don't understand the enjoyableness of the downtime where like I remember that night we're at the beach, you can't see anything, everyone's tired, everyone's like everyone's
talking
cold,
crap.
and then everyone's screaming at the enemies, they're screaming back at us, there's tracers shooting across the sky.
Yeah.
So
People
I
are
get up.
screaming some things.
Yeah,
just-
somebody yelled something
I
completely
know.
inappropriate.
That
So
guy-
inappropriate, dude.
That guy was. I didn't know he was gonna do that. I think that. I think the.
You shouldn't have said that. I'm just gonna go on record and say you shouldn't have said that.
I thought it was funny. You should say that more. But
I've got an angel and a devil on my
I know.
shoulder right now.
You really
And
do.
one of them's telling you not to do it, and the other one is doing a handstand.
No.
And the other one is upside down twerking.
You
Yeah.
shouldn't. You shouldn't do. But what if you did? but you should. But I think no.
I heard much worse stuff the next day.
What did I hit him with some? I don't even remember what it was.
People get so bent out of shape at those events.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
chill out.
Have fun, man. We're playing BB Wars.
Exactly.
We are playing pretend army man.
Yeah, this is.
I'll tell you what it is. If you were ever a child who ran around with a toy, like a little stick shaped like a blaster, this is for you, right? If you ever played pretend storming the beach of Normandy with your friends at 6 years old with your little Nerf, whatever, like this is for you. This is like, if you enjoy Call of Duty, this is the right stuff for you. So
I'll tell you what though, getting shot as a dead man on that second day, like all day, was pretty rough.
Yeah,
it happened to me. I'm telling you right now, you have the worst luck running into people like that. Like just like frustrating airsofters. I never.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
you are
there,
a magnet for it.
The red rag is hanging over my face, and I'm looking at this dude straight in his eyes, and he lights me up with an LMG, and is like, "I can't see your dead rag. Put it on your head." And I told him I had to take it off of my head to wave it at you.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Put it on my head?
And I never once had that issue.
Yeah,
it happens.
It happens.
We're kind of running out of time here, and we got to get to the ready room. So
that was more so mentality from the other team because they got their butts handed to them.
And the night before, they definitely came a little frustrated.